He wants me to go like that. Okay.
You prefer that?
It's at a Hampton.
Namaste and welcome to Stoker Sighting. We're the Earth Meditation Tribe, and it's the second Sunday of the month, and we're hoping we haven't confused too many people. It's Sunday, the 11th of June. And today, the main presentation, of course, is by Robert Bruce, who is to my right. And Robert is going to show us the way of the Eneagram. Have I pronounced that correctly?
You did very well, Greg.
Okay. So the intent is it's going to be a longer presentation today, and as best we can, that means we're going to cut down on meditations and the Tao and the singing and so on and so on. I'm going to go briefly and say a few things at the start, but then we'll just get Robert straight into it, and we have a puppy in the room, and that's it. So, Steve, we've had a month or two off, and part of the reason for that, I don't mind saying, is that I had finished a meditation and a mindfulness course and needed to take some time to design the modules for the mindfulness course. And so what I did was I hid in the mountains behind the Gold Coast at a quite idyllic location to get away from the energy of Byron Bay. And Steve, of course, has been in Thailand, and he probably, I'm hoping later on, will share some news with what has been happening in Thailand and what has been on his radar. Now, I don't mind saying to you that at the end of each day, some of you who've been previously will know that what we do is we have what we call the Lakota circle, where you're given the option of saying a name and one word or phrase that basically says where your energy is at that time. And the word that we've been hearing again and again and again, Steve, is?
Peace.
Peace. Calm, gratitude, etc., etc.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to do that today. To finish off the mindfulness course, I've been deeply troubled by a few things, and it comes back to trying to work out what people are hoping, what would cause you to attend a mindfulness course, because there's a zillion of them out there, and I'm not interested in doing just another one again. But the imagery of that mindfulness course is about a storm, and the storm will make you stronger. Well, some people will say, no, it doesn't make you stronger at all. And what is the storm that we have in our lives? And a lot of people have a different view on what the storm is. Some take it as a physical thing, but of course, you and I know that for many of it, it's more than the fires and the floods, etc., etc. So the intent is all going well with time, and I'm going to try to pull back. Normally I tend to dominate at the start. I'm going to try to go shorter today, so that Robert has a lot of space to move in, because I know you're here to learn about the Enneagram. And for those people who are watching on screen, Robert, can you just reach behind you and get the book, the Enneagram book? I think this will be picked up by the movie screen, Steve. There's the book, The Way of the Enneagram. So Robert is going to navigate us through that this afternoon, and as I understand it, it's about, it's a gorgeous book, beside the fact that physically, when you look at the cover and so on, I always write on my books, I don't mind saying, Robert, with pencil and blah, 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 and I put little stickers in them. And this is such a masterpiece that I haven't been able to do that. Hello. This is such a masterpiece that there's no writing on it. So the intent is that Robert is he's got a box of them over there, and at the end, he's going to invite you to, you can buy one of the books if you like. The thing that I really like about the book, however, I don't mind saying to you, well, there's a whole lot of things that I like about the book. But one of the things about our Earth Tribe is about what the path forward is. And some of you will have read the website, and you remember that when stripped away, there are a few propositions. One of them is a return to the yin, a return to the great integrity. It's about a reconnection within, with each other, and thirdly, with the Earth Mother. It's a simple vision, and the reason why it's a bulky website is that we wanted to go into some detail about what our vision and our values were, so that people knew what they were getting themselves in for. It's not the same old narrative. But I don't mind saying to you, I'm going to treat this afternoon, besides learning about the Enneagram, that one of the things for me is that I want to get a feel for what the storm is for you. And there's a microphone there, and when it goes around the room, you may choose to say hello, or you may choose to stay quiet. So that's the intent of the afternoon, Steve. Are you okay if we go about it that way?
Great.
Or you want more of the same as what we've done on previous occasions?
That's fine.
So, I'm going to invite you at the start, if that's okay. Do I need to say more about this book? I'll tell you what excites me about it, Robert. Over to Robert's Right is one of the books that I've been working a lot on. It's a Buddhist text. It's about the Shambhala prophecy, about the emergence of the kingdom of Shambhala. Is that fair?
I think it is very, yeah.
And when you look at, has anyone heard about the Shambhala prophecy? No. We've done nights on the Shambhala prophecy at Temple Byron, Steve, but it's a very confronting prophecy. It's ancient. There comes a time when all life on earth is in danger. At that time, great powers have arisen, barbarian powers, and although they waste their wealth in preparations to annihilate each other, they have much in common. And among the things these barbarian powers have in common are weapons of unfathomable devastation and death, and technologies that lay waste to the world. And it is just at this point in our history, when the future of all beings seems to hang by the frailest of threads, that the kingdom of Shambhala emerges. And on it goes. Oh, Peter, I hope I haven't sent you to sleep already.
Indeed, please.
So I don't mind saying to you that in terms of the course that I've created, it's about, one of the phrases that's dear to me is, this tribe aspires to truth and integrity in a world which is fast becoming overwhelmed by some other stuff. We'll say more about that other stuff later. Now, what is the relevance of that to Robert's book? Well, you'll see if you buy his book that it, in fact, also talks in the most beautiful language, about a return to the garden. And, correct me if I'm wrong, and a return to the golden path.
Golden world.
The golden world. And would you believe it? When you look at the Shambhala prophecy and that whole vast wisdom of Buddhism, it's the main thread of the emergence of the kingdom of Shambhala is a return to the golden path. So you're in good company, Robert.
Very good.
Okay, so now having said that, before I hand you over to Robert, Robert has said, would I mind leading a short meditation? So I'll invite you, if you would, to get into meditation pose, and I'll also say to you that one of the other things, there are two other things that I should have warned you about when I get started, Robert. I'm hard to stop. But one of the modules is the new course will be about listening and what is right speech. And Douglas Deere, there's a quote from him that came through from Sing Alive recently. A young German woman referred to it, and it was about listening to the cries of the world, spiritual listening, inner listening, and listening that can lead to transformation. And as I did last time, Steve, you may not remember, I put a stake in the ground and said, this is where I'm at this afternoon. This is where I'm at, besides Robert. To listen to another soul into a condition of disclosure and discovery may almost be the greatest service that any human being can extend to another. So constructing your posture from the ground up. If you wish to lie down, you can do that too. Some of you know that we have the permission of one of the great German composers to playing some of his music during our meditations. Letting go of all the roles and responsibilities, all the projects, all the clutter, much of which is part of the illusion, or should I say delusion. So to our right is the beautiful mountain Wollongong. And we breathe in the energy of that mountain. And if you wish, doing a very brief body scan, imagining it's almost like a waterfall flowing from the top, a waterfall of awareness flowing from the top of your head. Down through your head, into your upper arms, lower arms, hands, a waterfall of awareness. And as you come to any spot or area of tension, just breathing in softly, letting go. Upper legs, lower legs, feet. And connecting with the earth element. The earth element that is inside your body. And scanning that hardness, solidity, heaviness, however you wish to describe it. If you grit your teeth, you'll get a fair idea of what hardness is. Now, staying where you are, if you're in that zone already, but some of us will do some ujjayi breathing or ocean breathing. By so doing, it creates a synchronicity, a sameness within the octagon. As you know from the trauma summits, when you're this close to other people, our nervous systems are interacting. So deep breath into your belly. Hold. And breathing out. And with the soft gaze, if you wish, you'll watch how I will use my hands now. To my right, to my left, with left hand on the ground and right hand on my thigh. A deep breath into the belly. And breathing out. And to the other side, right hand on the ground, left hand on your thigh. Deep breath in. And breath out. Back to the center. This time we'll go to the front with our hands. If you wish to take a soft gaze at what I'm doing. Breathing in. Hold. And breathing out. This time, the short version, we're going to bring our hands in a spiral above the head. Deep breath in. And breathing out. And the last part of the exercise, all 10 fingers on the ground. And breathing in the strength and the stability of the earth. Deep into your belly. And breathing out. Once again, breath in, breathing in the strength and stability of the earth. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out compassion to all sentient beings. And while we're connecting with the earth, may we take this opportunity to acknowledge the Bunjalung people. and the Hopi people who have a special connection with this mountain. And for that matter, all Indigenous peoples. May they be well and happy. May they live their lives with ease, and may they be safe and free. And perhaps there's someone else who's important for those who are with me in terms of a loving kindness meditation. Hand on heart, may I be well. May I be happy. May I live my life with ease, and may I be safe and free. And perhaps one last one. May all beings be well. May they be safe and free. And we'll finish off this meditation, albeit a brief one, with an invitation for you to envision, to imagine and envision the new earth. And set against, we'll go into silence so you can just listen to the music, because it'll take you where you need to go. And of course the music being Gaia dreaming herself awake. And what would that new earth look like to you? You may use the 5 sense fields if you like, of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, etc. The 4 elements of earth, wind, fire, water. coming out slowly. No hurry. When you're ready, if you wish, some of your yoga stretches and twists and turns. Well, Robert, I think we'll get straight into your part of the afternoon, and then you've got free rein for. I know you've given me a time frame. Sorry, Steve.
That's okay then.
But you go as long as you wish.
Okay.
Now, I've already, I feel, introduced Robert. I beg your pardon, I introduced the book. I didn't say much about Robert. Robert Bruce is a long-time resident of this area and has been conducting Eneagram workshops, and he owns Eneagram Academy, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And so Robert has been conducting these over many years, both in this area and in the city, in Melbourne and Sydney from memory. Robert currently lives in the same, in Brunswick Heads, and I'm delighted that he's going to share this with us, because you'll find that his discourse on the Enneagram is unrivaled in Australia, and his book also, I should make the same comment about. Can I be as brief as that?
You can.
Because there's a summary that appears in the Facebook post that sets out a lot about you and about the Enneagram itself. But maybe you can briefly, if you would, remind us a little bit of that. You okay?
I'll do my very best, Chris.
Thank you. Now, where are you going to sit there?
I think so. Yeah.
And you're okay with my guitar being there? Not really.
Not really. It feels like, well, firstly, Greg, thank you very much. Lovely introduction. And thank you, Steve, for having us here. I can't imagine a more idyllic place to talk about the golden world. In fact, I was thinking that maybe we, most of you are already there after that meditation, so there's not much to talk about. The golden world is that space where ideas and stories and identity fall away, and we're left with a much bigger sense of who we are and our connection to something else. And I think we all have those moments spontaneously, you know, being with someone we love, a beautiful piece of music, being in nature, and we have those kind of overwhelming flashes of beauty, and we know that something different is going on. But sadly, we have trouble staying in those spaces, and we get dragged back to our so-called normal lives, and back to the challenges and the adversities and the difficulties of life. So the Enneagram is really there to try and can we actually use those challenges and adversities as a way of getting to the golden world. So we're not dependent on the conditions outside of us. So that's kind of the agenda. Who's familiar with the Enneagram, or who's touched on it before? Just little bits here and there. Does anyone know what Enneagram type they are? So we won't be spending too much time dwelling on type. We'll be talking around it, and hopefully by the end of today, you'll have, if you don't already know what type you are, you'll have a pretty the beginnings of what type you might be. But I think too much Enneagram theory and teaching is about type, and a lot of teachers become obsessed with all the kind of complexities and the kind of nuances of the different types. But for me, the most important thing about the Enneagram is how do we become more healthy in our type? How do we become less self-absorbed? How do we become more resilient? How do we become less fixated in our stories? And I think that's a much more worthy, and it really doesn't matter that much if we're a type 2 or a type 3. A lot of the journey needs to be the same. So also as we go along, please ask questions. I'd much prefer this to be a discussion than to be a talk. Yeah, sure, that was quick.
Do you, I thought, do you ever one type or within your life? Do you always be that particular type as you go through phases of?
The theorists say we come into our type at birth, and we tend to stay in our type for the rest of our lives. And there are a few other little gymnastics we can do around that. But most parents agree that when they watch their children, what they're like, what drives them when they're 8, tends to still drive them when they're 88. So that fundamental platform of personality tends to be formed at a very early age. And we'll talk about why. Now, you may not agree with that, some people don't. But,
I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
And a lot of people think, oh, I used to be a 7 and thank God I've now become a 4. But I think, yeah. Any other questions?
I think I took this test a number of years ago and it was quite pronounced, but then as I did it recently it was a lot more fluid. And
well, that's a very good sign. As we become healthier, as we move up the levels of health, all the types do begin to look the same, because we're not as fixated in our behaviours. And our Enneagram structures are there as protection. We're using them to keep us safe and to protect ourselves and to cope. And as we allow them to be dismantled, we're kind of coming into the world in a much more accepting and open way. Yeah. So, and you'll notice people around you, and slowly as they become healthy, They're not as fixed in their type. And that might come to your question. As we get healthier, it gets harder to tell. Okay.
Is the path similar for all types to become integrated, or is it more difficult for one, or more easier for a 7, or is the path to integration similar for all types?
I think it's the broad pathway is the same, and that's how do we use the discomfort that we're feeling to dismantle our protective structures. And that's hard because we have to stay in the discomfort that we're feeling. But the Eneagram gives us a clue as to what's going on. And different things will be going on for different types. And we will come to that.
Did I hear that there's some sort of scale of 1 to 7? Is that from hearing?
1 to 9.
Well, it is 1 to 9.
So the 9 types, Enea is the Greek word for 9.
Okay.
And each of us tends to be one of those types.
Right. Each of us, okay. So are you saying then that each of us tends to be one of those types where we're a mix of the rest as well, in part, or are we tending to be very strong on one type and then less on the others, or is it just a matter of degree across the whole lot?
I think we tend to have one dominant defense mechanism.
Uh-huh. Okay, so does that mean the 9 points are 9 defense mechanism
Yes.
points? Okay. Thanks. And does that mean that those 9 defense mechanism points are also the ways in which we actualise ourselves into the world from one of those defence points, or is there other factors involved?
It's trying to let go our defense mechanisms and return to something much bigger than personality.
Through this practice, we try to let go of our defence mechanisms and return to a more open or expressive personality. Expressive of God, or expressive of
our connection with ourselves, our connection with God, our absence from fear, the connection with love.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we go over there, I'd just like to talk about this chart a little bit. And this is called the 3 centers. And in a way, it kind of describes the journey that we're going to go on. In all of us, we have this energy that keeps moving through the body, and it keeps us alive, and it guides us intelligently through life. And if it wasn't there, we wouldn't be here. And it tends to be most evident in 3 centers: the head center, the heart center, and the gut center. And these centers are sometimes called centers of energy, sometimes centers of intelligence. In Qigong, they're called dantians, I think. The low dantian is the gut center. And when we are connected to these 3 centers, we have a very different experience of life. At the head center up here, we have this sense of knowing, wisdom and trust. The world's okay, the world is beneficent. And we often have little experiences where we just know what to do without having to think about it, that inner guidance that we get. And at the heart center, when we're connected to the heart center, we have that sense of compassion and intimacy that we're really connected with other people and the world. And at the gut centre, the deep sense of aliveness, and that we're really part of something much bigger. And of course, if you have all those experiences all at once, then you're very much connected to the three centres, to yourself. I think it is the experience of the golden world. Most traditions have some terminology to express that, and it's things like the Tao, Christ mind, Buddha consciousness. Eckhart Tolle calls it the deeper I. Jung calls it the self with a capital S. There's the Tao, and so on. So it's just all of these things up here, which that we are free from the limitations of personality, and we are connected with ourselves and with God. So that's the starting point, and hopefully it's the ending point. But
I just heard yesterday, just the indigenous people, that was really nice too. They called he was a young indigenous people from Bangara theatre, and he explained they call it you have to be too true to you have to be in your own truth. I thought that was a really nice word to say it too. That's what I said.
Unfortunately, we come into the world and the birth process itself is pretty rough ride, both for the mother and the child. And for the child, it's also that sense of separation, becoming separate from the mother, and also separate as an entity. You know, we're now a separate being, and this may be disconnected from our source. And we begin to feel that sense of separation, and we start making up stories about the discomfort that we're feeling. And then we move through life, and a small child and a teenager, and we continue to be assailed with these difficulties and challenges, discomforts, and sometimes trauma as we're growing through life. And we develop our defense mechanisms or our coping strategies. And it's good that we do, because if we didn't, it would be too overwhelming for us. And we tend to put all these difficult experiences into the unconscious. So you see there's an inner ring here at each of the centres, so we're protecting the centres from the difficulties and pain of life. And at the head centre we get these repeating patterns of thinking, the stories, and we have the beginning of the identity. At the heart centre, which is probably one of the most important one, and the one we protect most fiercely, we find ways of trying to keep away from the pain. And at the gut centre, we have our instinctive responses try and keep us safe, both physically and psychologically. And so, useful things to have, but limiting. And we start to think that we are those shells of personality. We begin to think that's who we are. And as we grow older, we start, whenever we meet any difficulty or circumstances, we tend to protect ourselves again. And we protect ourselves again. Even maybe when the circumstances aren't that challenging. And as we do that, as we move through life, we keep building up the protective shells, and we lose connection with these beautiful qualities of the three centers. And as they get thicker and thicker and thicker, that's what we become. And there was a poster once that had 4 little babies along the top, and it had 4 grumpy old men down the bottom. And it said, "What happened?" And the risk is that as we move through life, we keep building up this protective shell, and we do it to keep ourselves comfortable, but we do it at enormous cost. And we kind of shrink down to this sad, limited, defensive collection of stories and emotions. You getting the feeling of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There is a little saying in thanks, Greg. There's a little saying in depth psychology which says, with trauma, play ends and vigilant self-care begins. With trauma, play ends and vigilant self-care begins. And certainly kids who have experienced significant childhood trauma, they really do. There's a premature development of these protective shells. So vigilant self-care is the protection shells, and that becomes their total focus. I have to protect myself from the shit that's going on here. And that's why childhood abuse has such devastating impact. Once they've built those shells, the only thing that they are concerned about is vigilant self-care. And it cuts them off from life, cuts them off from themselves in a deeper sense, and cuts them off from love. And it takes a long while to, if not forever, to try and break down those shells of protection. But and lots of us haven't had deep childhood abuse, but we've all had our little upsets, difficulties and challenges. and we've all become will spend a lot of our time in this process of vigilant self-care. And if we're really focused on vigilant self-care, and then we try and have a relationship, makes it tough. We all want a relationship, but the reality of it is much harder to achieve. We don't want to let down our defences. So that's kind of over here. Is that okay so far? Change spots. So this gives us a bit of an introduction to the Enneagram.
I'm sorry, I asked one more question.
Yeah, sure.
Vigilant self-care. I'm struggling with that word. First of all, self-care. I find it's really not something negative.
There's a bit of a...
just if you could explain that a little bit more. What that means.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to take care of ourselves and to look after ourselves. And I think the trouble arises when that's all that's going on. And we become very self-absorbed, and our behaviours become controlled by our need to be protected.
So it's more like...
And we've lost the balance of, we have to take care of ourselves, and we need to be able to open our hearts, compassion, and trust. And appreciating the beneficence of the universe. So, yeah. So, here's the Enneagram. Did you get it?
No. Still.
And one way we can think about these 9 types is we can divide them into groups of 3. And we can relate it to the 3 centres over here. And the types at the top here, the 8, 9 and 1, are sometimes called the instinctive triad. And we've lost connection with our gut centre, and we start developing behaviours that protect us from that sense of separation. And if I can use the Garden of Eden as an example, so just imagine you've been thrown out of the Garden of Eden and you're on the wrong side of the wall. This is the story that kind of explains the 8, 9 and the 1. And the 8 is out there thinking, shit, I'm on the wrong side of the wall, been cut off from paradise. Here I am. I think I'm a separate being. I need to protect myself. I need to be strong and assertive. And Nicole, that's called the challenger. because I don't have this sense of being being part of something much bigger. The 9 also out on the wrong side of the wall, and the 9 comes to a slightly different conclusion. I bet it'd be nice to people, and I better be accommodating and pleasant, and maybe if I'm sufficiently pleasant and accommodating, I will re-establish connection with these instinctive forces. That's easygoing, peaceful and kind. And that's the peacemaker. And just before you get too excited about the peacemaker, a lot of the mass murders in the, not a lot, but quite a few of the mass murders in the States have been perpetrated by the peacemakers because they're being easygoing, peaceful and kind, and easygoing, peaceful and kind, and I'm getting pissed off here, and eventually it's Brumbo. And they arrive at school with an AK-47, and it's all the behaviours of the type that we develop takes us further and further away from ourselves. We think these behaviours of being strong and assertive, of being easygoing, peaceful and kind are going to work for us. But in the end they don't. So coming back to this triad here, the 8, 9 and the 1. The 1, as you can see there, is the reformer, and again outside the walls of paradise. And the conclusion is, I must have done something wrong, or there's something wrong with me, otherwise I wouldn't have been thrown out of paradise. And so the 1 begins to improve themselves and improve the world, and that's why they're known as the reformer. And it's about self-improvement, and the downside of it is that they can become very hard on themselves and quite self-critical, and they can also be critical of everyone else. So the image that they're trying to build is good beyond reproach. Is anyone familiar with what might be a 1?
The perfectionist.
Yes. And hopefully as I talk about these types, some examples will begin to drop into your awareness of people in.
Yeah. I find it confusing because I identify with all of them.
Okay.
So far.
Yeah,
So far.
Maybe you've got 9 personalities.
Well, there's only
Maybe I do.
there's only 3 so far, so maybe
Yeah.
you'll get all 9.
I might get a full 9.
Full house.
Maybe some of the more political minded people are often in that area too, or ease of field in
Yeah.
the area of it, but I mean someone who works.
Well, I'm a 9. I live up here in this triad.
Yeah.
It's sometimes called the rage triad, which I don't like much. That's because it's kind of there's an existential struggle going on to try and establish our existence even. And there's a concept of ourselves we think we know is fragile, and we're putting all our energy into trying to keep it, defend it and protect it.
Or injustice, no? Some people I can relate to that too, but some of my friends, they're really so much into trying not to anything which seems unjust. It's just, it's completely put their whole energy into it. And that can become the other extreme sometimes.
So the little mantra for these three is don't mess with me. I'm doing the best I can trying to keep this shit together. And I don't want you pulling it apart for me. Don't mess with me. So, that
Question.
sure.
So within that group there, if you don't mess with me, there are degrees, I suppose, to which people are that don't mess with me.
Well, it's got a
from a
different.
lower level of not being particularly aggressive to higher levels of aggression to implement what they see as being right. Is that what we're talking about?
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the 8 is probably sometimes called the boss, so wants to be in charge, and it's my way or the highway, and we're going to do it the way I say we're going to do it.
They can be aggressive, right?
They're naturally aggressive. If they're unhealthy. So we tend to be talking about these types in their unhealthy format. And of course, as the 8 begins to relax and let go of the idea that they have to be strong, assertive and in control.
So are we making an assumption then that for somebody to be aggressive is a negative factor, or because in some cases you might say, well, it was the aggression that turned everything around and made it wonderful for everybody in a particular situation?
I think assertive might be a better word.
Assertive? Okay. Yeah.
This is what we're going to do.
Yes.
And if you see a healthy 8 in action, there is a strength there, but there's not that reactivity. This is all, and people naturally fall in behind that. And the poor old 9, you know. We're trying to be nice. And sometimes it works. But again, the 9 has the opposite problem, is that they over-accommodate. Yeah. Where would you like to go for dinner? Oh, you decide. And on the face of it, it looks like you'd like to be with a 9. But my ex-partners tell me that's not true.
You're just married with them.
Was that? Yes, that's it. Yeah, exactly. And over here, the reformer. Yeah, it's kind of how can they let go of these high standards that they have for themselves and the world? And when it just comes naturally, it's very beautiful. Yeah, they do have a very good moral compass, and they do know the right directions to go in. And again we will fall in behind them because they have that sense of being anointed by God.
Robert, just before you go on and Tekla's gone up the driveway, I should have said to people who are new here today, we keep away from the house, but there's a little shack halfway up the driveway here if you need to go to that, and there's water out the back here, and why I'm saying this is we're not going to have a break, we're going to go all the way through, aren't we, Robert?
I think so. I'm relaxed. If anyone desperately wants to go to the toilet, just hang on.
Okay with that, Steve, that we don't have a break?
Okay. So we come down to the 2, 3, 4 triad, which is called the heart triad. And I'm in the heart triad. Isn't it lovely? And of course, what it means is we have lost connection with the heart. So, and as we lose connection with our own sense of value, we feel that we're unloved and unworthy and not significant, and we then go out in the world to try and find value. So the 2 is the helper, and they go out doing things for other people, which is lovely, but sometimes it comes with an agenda. I'm giving to get, and that can become invasive and controlling at the unhealthy levels. And underneath this is this idea that I'm unloved and unwanted. The 3, the achiever, is the doer. They do a lot of stuff. They produce a lot of stuff. They work hard. They've got careers. They're on about success. They're on about recognition. They like nice cars. They like nice houses. They like all the attachments of life. And the underlying issue is that they feel unworthy. And losing connection with their own heart, they've lost the sense of their own worth, and they go out and have to try and prove it to themselves or prove it to the world that they are really worthy. And it gets very, very tiring. They need to be the best. And the 4th one is kind of slightly more interesting. They think they've lost significance, their own personal significance, and therefore they have to be extraordinary, unique and extraordinary.
Could that translate over as well to the kind of personas that think they're uniquely unfortunate or uniquely
very much. Look at me, I'm more unfortunate than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I I know suffering like no one else really knows suffering. So they can be very tragic, and they go deeply into their emotions.
So as long as it's unique, whether it's excellence or the other way.
And they often say, I'm a fool, but I don't want to be like all those other fools. So they're into this. So there's a lot of, but they are also the creative types and the artistic types, and in that sense of connection with God, they do create many beautiful things. So again, there's the upside and the downside.
Mm-hmm.
So the little mantra for this quadrant is, see me the way I want to be seen. So the 2 wants to be seen as selfless and here to help, God's little helper. The 3 wants to be seen as the best, and the 4 wants to be seen as different. Do you know anyone like this?
Well, Robert, I'm with Maria at the moment. I'm all the above.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not me, that's my ex-partner.
You're not a 4.
No, that's probably the one I identify with the least, but probably all the other above.
Yes. With his help, you've got them all covered. Okay. So we're moving now around to 5, 6, and 7, which is the head triad. And we've lost connection with the head center, and we've lost connection with our inner guidance and our higher intelligence. So we're uncertain about what to do. We don't have that natural guidance going on. And we try and work it out using our head, which isn't a good solution, and we try and think our way, find out what to do. So the 5 is the investigator. They like knowledge, information. They prefer to spend their time alone, largely, accumulating, finding out things, exploring the world, coming up with new concepts of how things might be. So people like Einstein and Eckhart Tolle is a good example of people who are really discoverers and scientists, and they love information much more than they love people, and there is a kind of scarcity about their emotional connections. They usually live on the edge of town. Not like you, Steve. The 6s, and these guys kind of feel like I can't find my place in the world, so I kind of settle for intellectual explorations, and one day I'll come up with something really good. The 6s, they're the catchphrase, I have no guidance. And no support.
What is that tag we can't see?
Sorry.
Oh,
I have no guidance.
okay.
And a big thing for them is anxiety. And they, should I do this? Should I do that? Or maybe I should do that. What do you think I should do? And they consult about their decisions with others. And then they usually ignore the advice. And so a lot of head fucking going on, trying to work out what to do, and they feel unsupported and alone. But they are also, the lovely side of a 6 is they really are, they do their best to support the world. And so they're solid and dependable. And 6s make lovely friends. In fact, everyone likes 6s, except the 6s. And then 7s, the enthusiasts, they just want they feel as though they're trapped in pain. And they want as many experiences as possible to try and escape from the pain. So they're full of life, full of activity, moving from one thing to another, spending a lot of time planning and what's going to be the next exciting thing. But there's so much into the planning that they actually miss out on the experience that they're having right now. So they're very enthusiastic, but they're also often not quite here.
Future oriented. Future oriented.
The next relationship, the next job, the next dinner party, the next meal is going to be fantastic. Just not this one.
Right.
So they have trouble with relationships, of course, because the grass is going to be greener next time. And not this boring old thing. So the little mantra for the 5, 6 and 7 is, I don't know what to trust. And they keep trying to find relief for that. Where do you think you are?
I think I'm a 9 that goes to every other number.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting answer that I think there you can feel there's an overriding energy. And the overriding energy of a 9 is where the 1 is, and the 8 is. And you can often get more from the energies of this, and the 2 is kind of giving out energy and more energy, so they overgive. And 3 is got to be the best. And so lots of plates in the air. And the 4 is, oh. And the 5 is in the library. And the 6 is kind of trying to work out when the next alligator is going to walk into the room. Do you have alligators here, Steve? No. And they've got it when the alligator or the crocodile finally arrives. 6s are really good because they know exactly what to do.
They're afraid of it, but they're good with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, okay, so that's a bit of a run through on the types. I would like to do a little exercise now for you. Like, yeah.
You want to have?
No, I think I'm okay.
I'm not comfortable.
Well, Steve, you might even be able to do this, seeing your phone's free.
Yeah.
Can we take a shot of all these and
Sure. Yeah.
we'll put them on the net?
Can everyone read those words? I'll read them out for you. These are known as the gifts to the world. And what I've been describing has been a bit of a negative take on the types. But all of the types have this beautiful ability to give to the world. So we're saying that the 8 has to be strong and in control. But when they're healthy, they have this wonderful strength and truth. And they live by the truth. If you want to know what's going on, ask an 8. Because they have no trouble in expressing that. So, the gift from type 1 is integrity and fairness. That's what really gives them the juice. And so lots of Greenpeace people and activists are type 1s. They're after fairness and integrity. Type 2 is caring and compassion. Type 3, the doing, inspiration to get things done. Type 4, creativity and beauty. Type 5, innovation and clarity. Type 6, warm-hearted personality. Type 7, joy and optimism. They're kind of trying everything. Yeah, let's do the next thing. Let's go to the South Pole. Strength and truth for the 8. Acceptance and calmness for the 9. So I want to do a little repeating question exercise where I'd like you to start playing around with your partner with these ideas. And Greg, can you come up here? So we're going to do a repeating question exercise.
You're not going to embarrass me, are you?
No, I'll embarrass myself.
Am I going to sit just there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm a 9, so no, this is fine. The gifts I bring to the world are acceptance and calmness when I'm healthy. And it's good to just reflect that these positive attributes are our contribution to a better world. And often we're doing these things without even realizing that we're doing them. But other people see them and appreciate them. So it's good to just reflect on these things and kind of acknowledge ourselves. So Greg, what I want you to do is tell me the times you have brought acceptance to the world. Do you want to practice that?
Times that I.
You ask me. Tell me the times that you...
Robert, tell me the times that you have brought acceptance into the world.
So I was with my housemate last night, and he'd left the knife in the sink. And I mean, he'd done it 200 or 300 times before. But I thought, no, it's okay. I can accept the fact that he leaves the knife in the sink every day. And then Greg asked me the question again.
Robert, tell me how you bring acceptance into the world.
I was talking to my son, and he was complaining about his mother, and I think I was able to just stay with him and feel his pain and accept that that's where he was. And then Greg will ask me again. And the interesting thing about this is each time you do it, you don't have to think about what's coming in. Something will come in if you are that type. So I'd like you to pair off, two there, two there, two there. Rahasi and Steve. Two girls, and maybe Greg and Paul. Is it Paul?
Paul.
And take it in turns to just play with this, to see if you can get an idea of what are the things that are really valuable to you. Is it creativity and beauty? Is it helping? Is it caring and compassion? Is it fairness, integrity and fairness? This will give you a pretty good clue of your type. And I think often this exercise works better than a lot of the questionnaires, because you can actually see, oh yes, I keep doing that. I keep doing that. That's important to me. The world appreciates it. So,
do we pick one if we think we're one type?
have a guess at what you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
What type do you think you are, Steve?
I'm a 9.
A 9? Yeah.
What about people?
Could I have some help with that, because I think I'm everything.
Okay. Is there anything on that list there that really gets you excited?
Not really, no.
So you might be.
This list here, well, I can't actually read it from here, so I can't tell it.
It's hard to
Do you
get
mind just reading each one? And I'll
Yeah.
just send it back to you.
Sure.
And also it might be easier to have the other,
So,
if they decided not.
integrity and fairness.
Yes.
Are you a member of Greenpeace?
Right, what?
Are you a member of Greenpeace?
No.
Uh,
But I could, well, I'm not sure why you asked me that, but yeah, but I could be. I support Greenpeace and especially the original leader. But yes, go ahead.
caring and compassion.
Yes, I have care and compassion.
We all have these qualities.
Yes.
It's when they become a really dominant energy in our lives. So we could all be members of Greenpeace, but we're not.
Right.
We
Okay.
could all be caring and compassionate, but that's not the thing that drives us.
Okay.
Someone's kind of, even before you think you see someone's got a problem, you're there to help them.
Right. Next one.
Inspiration to get things done.
Yeah.
Do you love seeing people produce things
Yep.
and want to encourage them to produce more?
Yeah.
Do you work with young people
Yep.
to help them along the road to careers?
Yep.
Type 4 is creativity and beauty. Do you like creating beautiful objects, painting and works of art? And that's what turns you on. Yeah. Type 5, thinking about ideas. Do you think tinkering with ideas and trying to find different ways of looking at the world and writing about it and spending time researching it. Type 6, warm-hearted dependability. Are you a little bit anxious about the world and you think other people need support and you need to make it safe for them? And so you spend a lot of time very alert to the things that can go wrong in the world. Where are we? Joy, optimism. I think I'll do this. I think I'll do that.
Yeah.
I think I'll go down to the shops. I think I'll come back. I think I'll feed the dog.
Okay.
Strength and truth. Let's do it my way. Acceptance and calmness. He left his knife in the fucking sink.
Robert, are these terms, just further on what Peter said to you, go back to number one, integrity and fairness. Can I have integrity? Can I be someone who aspires to integrity, but I don't for a moment think that I'm fair all the time?
No, don't over-intellectualize it a bit.
Okay.
It's just as what's driving me.
Right.
So Gandhi is a good example of a one who just wants a different world, a better world, and wants a fairer world.
Where would he sit on this?
He's a one.
Yeah, a one, okay.
Mother Teresa's a two.
Can you just tell me what differentiates between Mother Teresa and Gandhi there?
Mother Teresa and Gandhi.
One's quite feminine and one's quite masculine. If you want to dress that way.
The one is kind of wanting correctness.
Yeah.
The two is wanting to help others.
Okay.
And they're not too worried about correctness. And we often see the church getting tangled up between correctness and helping others.
Okay. And I think we didn't do the last one, is that right?
Acceptance.
Yeah, acceptance. Yeah. Right. Well, look, I could say on all of those, just this morning, I could say, today, I've been those things.
Okay.
So I haven't been quite as happy about, oh, the dog's here, for this lovely dog. But
Well, maybe you and I should work together.
okay.
and you were going to work with Paul. Paul, can you work with Ken?
Yeah, I can work with Ken. There's a chair here.
So you're going to take it. Does anyone? No. What I'd like you to do is just try one of these out. If you're not sure, try one. Tell your partner what you'd like to try, and see if it works. And if it is your type, it'll work. You'll feel it. Ah, yes. I really like to be calm. Okay. So, yeah, sure. So you got 5 minutes. Hello?
Hello, attention please.
You've got 5 minutes. One person keeps asking the other person, tell me the times you have brought calmness to the world, or whatever type they think they are. And then answer, ask them again.
You ask one of the two, or both? Because there's awareness and calmness.
Yeah,
Pick one.
try them both.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I'm just going to listen.
Can you hit this on your 5 minutes? I might do it differently.
What do I do?
Yeah, I do the best I can to manage
And when you succeed in that, how does it feel?
Oh, it's always
And doing that, has it got to be your way? Well, I'm happy to let people do it the way they would like to do it.
well, this is a difficult question because I work on it to be my way because I have the original thought, but then there's also points where it can't be any other way, but there's also points where I can be specifically I work in particular more in real estate business, and also I work in another area which is developing, and I've done it for decades, the education of parents to how to educate all their children from birth. So in that area, there are things that people do that are totally unacceptable to them in the sense of the way they treat their children. And in the same way in the real estate business, I keep them slow for some people, and others I put them on the properties because of the way they behave, the way they
And encouraging parents to treat their children as to help them advance their position for the kids to do that. able to grow and have a better life? Is that part of the agenda? For the kids to be able to advance and grow?
Well, exactly. That's entirely what it is. So the child becomes totally independent and also shows parents how to optimise the child's 5 senses, or 6 if you want to keep balance, and 7 if you want to spiritual development as well. And then on top of that, the right can get a lot of intellectual information. Thoroughly enjoy it. It's all the environment and the child gets a lot. And the parents get a great deal of joy and comfort out of it because they don't have a problem with most people. There's no such thing as a child. There's no such thing as teenage problems unless they've been taught in some way and they go
And do you read a lot?
yes.
Do you spend much time on the computer? Yes. Do you like new ideas and do you develop kind of your own theories? And you see the world in a particular way?
I do, yes. But at the same time, I bring in information. Watch videos to follow.
Do you get excited when you find a way of thinking about the world? Tell me the times you bring clarity and innovation to the world.
Well, the first thought that I have, because it's come up a few times lately, is when I'm talking to a group of parents, there's usually one parent who can start crying as a result of the fact that they see themselves as having been taken for granted. And that's not to say that I enjoy sitting there for the subject, because they're coming back to the station, and the group are coming to that realization as well about the wonderful they can be as parents.
What does that mean?
The swap over.
And in doing this, do you really enjoy the innovation?
I particularly like the results. Every average child can make a child is living in the environment. I love those results.
So tell me the times in your life when you have brought innovation to the world.
Oh wow! Well, I was the only person who was in the about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I was the only person sitting in the Queensland Environment and Health Parliamentary Committee meeting. I was the only public person there participating to say that we should not have to reappoint the health minister because she was totally wrong. These issues around COVID and something, and then that was our situation. Next meeting they had 2,500 people.
So tell me the times you brought innovation and clarity to the world.
Well, through that, an example there is that, well, so what I do is that there I fed information into the committee and got them all thinking about the issues about how they were actually killing and harming people, and I also then got together a community groups and started to expand the knowledge, and I brought in a sense, I promoted the idea of peaceful abolition again in position, and that I think was really had a great effect. Locally, we had 1,500 people active around here, but on a basis, that's what happened.
So tell me the time you have brought innovation and clarity to the world.
Innovation clarity to the world. Well, I began a newspaper at one time, and so I produced a whole lot of information. I promoting breastfeeding when it was popular to move children onto alternative products and so on, not to breastfeed, to give information about the environment, protecting the environment,
What we're finding here is that you have love bringing innovation and clarity to the world. Educated, informed, that's what you're passionate about.
I'm also, something more passionate about, connecting with God.
Okay, well, let's leave that out. This is to the world. And your relationship to the world, it's about clarity and innovation. That's what you really want to see more of.
So this moment, that seems to be absolutely correct.
It sounds like it's been going on for quite a few moments.
Well, yes. When I think about, like when I left school, for example, I left school because I didn't believe what was going on. I've been told many things. I've always believed a lot too, but I just learned a whole lot different to collect information and provide it to me. So that's
Thank you for
Code 5.
I love information. Working things out. I love informing people. Sharing worldview.
Yes. But what's right, this is a sort of intellectual thing. That's why I said that.
Yeah, sure, God is important, but this is to the world. So it's not here. Now, to the world.
But I feel like what's happening now, and I've taken the time, I think it's probably good for you to
well, I kind of did an exercise great here, where I could say I bring calmness to the world, acceptance. Keep you do.
What are you? I know that I'm not. There's a number of things. I go back to number one, then the fairness thing that kind of troubles me because I have pretty firm views on issues that are very similar to your opinion, and I'm referring to, and there's nothing fair about it.
I wouldn't get stuck on the word. You see, the lovely positive. You have a moral compass. A moral compass.
And then caring and compassion. Well, that's a very hard in the earth trust. It's the concept of compassion. So I'm a little confused.
There is a thing called the wings, which you talk about in a minute. So you can, if you're a one, you can also be influenced by the one next door, which is the two. So you have your moral compass, and you also want to bring compassion, caring. And I see that in you, and that's why I like coming here.
I understand.
wings, and I'll talk about the wings now.
Alright, so can I ring the bell?
Yeah, ring the bell.
Steve, that sun's going to go down very shortly. Oh no, it's not. It's probably another 20 minutes off, isn't it?
Probably about 5 o'clock.
Oh, so, alright, so, great. It's wonderful. Can I ring the bell?
Yeah, ring the bell.
Okay, that's all we
Okay. How did that go? Any insights?
Now, just before you go on, Robert, the intent is we're going to go a little bit longer. You haven't seen the mountain yet, Gloria. You've sat in the wrong position. There will be a sunset a little bit later. We certainly will be finished before so you can see the sunset. And then there's going to be a cup of tea and biscuits and whatever else out the back. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. What did you find out, Rahasia?
I'm a 9.
Ah, lovely. And so we had 2 9s working
We
together.
have 2 9s working together. We were totally in agreement.
We were calm about it.
My ex-partner said comatose. I called it can't.
No, we got a bit of fire in us. We're both Sagittarians too, so.
How did you guys go?
Yeah, we went pretty great. But again, I'm definitely, I think I definitely know what my driving force is, but
What is it?
I'm 2, I'm definitely 2. So, but I think it's changing, and I think there's other things. I wouldn't want to put myself.
No, we won't put anyone in a box here.
Yeah.
For a while, anyhow.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do here is actually take everybody out of the box.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that they're not limited by their.
That's right, and I'm actually just in that process. I feel, it's really nice. It's
So
just really
for a 2, as a 2 becomes helpful, healthy, they're not rushing out the door to help anyone. Often their little mantra is, has anyone asked me to help? And more often than not, they haven't.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I'm just doing that with my son who's got a disability who fiercely wants to be independent from my help. And so, and I was overseas looking after my dying mom in the last 4 weeks and couldn't help him. And it was probably, I was between my mom and him, and both are my big agendas of helping. And it was really interesting for me. I'd chosen to go and see my mom actually because, and that was full on. But at the same time, I had to learn. It was really interesting. I had to say to my son, to listen to my son, and who was clearly saying to me, "Don't help me right now. Let it go." You know. And so it was really good. Good to move on. Yeah.
And the work is how do we become more healthy in our time to let go of that habitual pattern of behaviour and just be there and still be loving and compassionate. Thank you.
And not being controlling, which my son kept on looking you. If you keep on going and you come in, and visit me for my court case, just had a court case as well. If you stay in,
we might move on.
So you're controlling, but that was interesting. You said all that too, so that was good. Sorry.
I was tossing up between the 6 and the 9, but I got a 9.
Yeah. There can be some confusion between 6s and 9s.
Can you put the other chart down so we can see what the 6 is?
Yeah, sure.
What's a little miniature for a 9?
How about that?
Are you going to tell us how to become healthier? With
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
Would you write this little mantra? it's one what you said to me now down as well.
Sorry?
What did you say to me? Did you want it to have? How did you say that?
Has anyone asked me to join?
Has anyone asked me to help? Yeah. Let them decide.
Yeah.
So what would that be for number 9?
The little mantra might be engaging. How can I engage more in the world? Engage. And you could add a word to that, courageous engagement. Engagement. That's a nice little mantra for a 9.
Well, I found it a little bit difficult because I actually could relate to a few different things.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually started with Maria,
Yeah.
and as soon as she said it, I was like, oh God, I can feel this.
Yeah.
I could really feel it.
Yeah.
And then when she was asking me, I was like, and we sort of went from a 9, which I feel more aligned with. But then we thought we'll play around with another number that jumped out.
Mm.
Because I couldn't see them, I remember we went to 2, and that was really interesting as well. So it was interesting to play with
A couple of numbers.
sort of, because I wasn't quite sure, so I could just feel the difference. But I definitely, and I would still probably say 9, but I wouldn't be confident in saying that's it. But I could definitely feel where Maria was with her.
Where was Maria?
An 8.
Oh.
Yes. With a subtitle 2 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a few other linkages and connections, but an 8, as they become healthy, begins to look like a 2.
Okay.
See, there's a line along there.
Yeah. But I've definitely been in an unhealthy helper. Right, I can attest to that.
No.
Yeah. I've got a witness.
And you can also become kind of, you're still an 8, but you have a kind of compassionate concern for the world.
Yes.
I'm a 5, and I think it's innovation and clarity, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, I found that I think that you were very skilled in finding that I was a 5, because I don't know that I would have been able to clear it away to say 5, but I do know that that's accurate.
And it was very beautiful listening to what you were saying.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And the passion that was there.
Right, thank you, I appreciate that. And yes, so what else would I say about it? I'm a 5.
And it's just interesting to reflect on that.
Yes.
And do I want to spend more time engaging with people? And I think you already do, but stepping out into the world. So.
Yeah, well, that's a very nice point, because it is encouraging, because being innovative and wanting to bring clarity brings a lot of negative stuff to me as well. You know, there are so many people want to stop clarity, they want to stop innovation.
Yeah.
So,
well, we won't go there.
There we go.
No.
Yeah, right. There we go.
Do the 9s want to say any more other than they love each other? And
They love each other. We are friendly.
Well, this is a good example of a 9, right? I want everyone to be here and be fully, have a great time and be very welcome. And I want to bring calm to everybody. I don't want to bring it. I want to create a space where it happens. Yeah, space.
Supporting the space.
Yeah. And you do it very beautifully, Steve. And the girls?
I think that we agree that maybe we're a 2.
No.
I feel like, it could possibly be a couple of the others. Possibly also, an 8, I thought.
Oh, yes.
8 or 4, but I think it's fairly clear that I was a 2. We just asked the one question, so maybe it would have been good to have asked a couple of the different questions to work it out better, but it felt pretty right too.
You're moving towards it. And
Yes.
do you think you're a 2?
Yeah, I was like between the 2 and the 9, but since I'm a support worker since 20 years, so that's I spend a lot of time, and I do have a lot of compassion for every living thing.
Greg, before Greg speaks, there's another little twist to the Enneagram, that we can be a type, say 1, and we can be influenced by the type next door. So if you're a 9, you might be influenced by a 1. So you're wanting everything to be kind of, or in Greg's case, maybe influenced by a 2. Compassion.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused, and I'm the one who's read the book. Integrity and fairness I aspire to, but I'm not quite sure that I'm there, and because the whole tribe concept is underwritten by compassion. So I'm a little confused, Robert. Maybe a few walks down the south wall will sort it out.
We will.
If anyone stands out to have integrity to me out of any field like that, triggers right up there.
But one thing that Peter said to you really struck me was your assessment that you were, was it 9?
Yeah.
9, and I remember walking down the wall with you a few nights ago, and there was a group of people, and the way you carried yourself, it created a hush. People wanted to interact with you, and you just very calmly. Maybe you're watching a sunset, but it was the influence that you had on the circle was palpable.
Thank you, Greg. And Ken?
I reckon I'm a 6 evolving to a 9.
Very good.
Yeah, I really know the nature, which is a really intrinsic nature of my one-heartedness. But my life, in regards to my unfolding spiritual journey, would be coming into deep acceptance of my storm. And for me, that's epitomised for me in presence and the calmness that comes through presence.
Right.
And in presence also the wisdom that moves through presence.
Beautiful. Welcome to 9. Paul?
Predominantly I'm a 9.
Yeah.
At times I fall back into 8. And the only example I've got is that in a previous life I've managed coal mines and large organisations and being the boss.
So you could be a 9 with an 8 wing.
And take this as the way it is, whether you like it or not.
Very good. Lovely and good work. How much time have we got left, Greg? 10 minutes?
What you need. I think Steve tends to be very flexible, but we really do. The gigs that we're going till 5 o'clock, we don't want any more of those.
No.
And we'd love to stick to the agenda of 4:30. And I think if we do so, Steve, you'll still get to see the sunset.
Yeah, you will.
Just so long as people get a chance to take a photo of the sunset.
Okay. This is how to become more healthy. I think.
We want that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What other ways can we work out more?
Your type?
Yes. How we are.
There are lots of questionnaires online.
Yep.
And so buying a book and putting questionnaires about.
And if you go to Eneagram Academy, you'll find a questionnaire which will tell you it's free what type of time.
Oh, right.
And we get 200 people a day looking at that questionnaire.
Wow.
That's your website?
Huh?
That's your website?
Oh, cool. I don't know why, but they do.
And Robert, the price of the book today is?
It's usually $35
but today 20, correct?
Wow.
So,
I have a feeling that maybe I did that quiz a long time ago. So I should go and do it again.
can you see any other sheets here, Greg? I haven't touched any.
It looks like there's one under.
There's another one behind you, your original
Behind
one.
the-
No.
Ah, yes, you're quite right. Thanks, Paul. That. Just before we do this, do these centres begin to make sense to you now? That our journey, some people have described this as being, we're trying to move from the outside shells to the centres. And this is the journey of the roles to the soul. And the role, all the things we take on in the world, can we bring it back up to the soul?
That's what
Okay.
Take it as a compliment.
So, when you look at this chart here, you'll see these shells have two layers to them, the inner layer, the outer layer. And the inner layer is the unconscious layer. And as we move through life and things happen to us, painful stuff, and we don't want to be near the pain, we tend to put it into the unconscious, into the inner layer. And then we cover that over with the shells of personality. And that tries to keep it hidden. And the more little pieces of unconscious pain and trauma we don't want to remember, so we put it in the unconscious, the more we need to build up this outer shell to make sure it doesn't get out. So this little diagram for me is really what the Eneagram is all about. Because over here we have the three centres. But if we actually cut through the shells, on one side we'd have unconscious content, and on the other we'd have all the structures we put in place to try and keep it contained.
Could you please move the board to the middle?
Yep.
So that we can't see anything together.
How about that? And as we go down the levels of health, we're getting more and more stuff in the unconscious, and the shells need to get stronger and stronger to keep it contained so we don't know it's there. What happens is something happens out in the world which reminds us of something in our unconscious, childhood memory, childhood trauma, whatever it is, and this uncomfortable content starts to come into our awareness. And our first reaction is to try and push it back, trying to keep it under control. And to do that, we think we have to make these shells stronger. And so we keep going through life, and we start, every time we react to this unpleasant
stimulus, the same thing happens. We feel the discomfort and then we try and protect ourselves. And the inevitability of this is that we keep moving down to lower and lower levels of health over time. And so someone says something nasty to you and you react. And you say something nasty to them or whatever you do. Hit them in the face. The big secret in this is if you look at these little steps here and you kind of amplify them, here we are sitting here on the steps and there's a trigger that happens, and this is the point of addiction. And we can do two things. We can either react in a habitual way, which will usually involve our Eneagram type, so which we've talked about. Two will rush out the door, or what we really, and hence we go down another little step in our reactivity. Or the thing that is really required of us here is, can we sit on the step and can we watch it, feel it, allow it. And as that unpleasant energy is working, beginning to come into our awareness, we can actually feel the unpleasantness in the body. And it feels, I want to smash his face. That'll make me feel better. But it doesn't. And I mean, this has been taught by many teachers, but it's really important in the context of moving up the levels of health in the Enneagram. We do that by sitting on the step and watching what's happening, feeling the discomfort and allowing it to be there.
Can I tell a little story? Can I tell a little story?
Is it a very short story?
I just came back, look after my mom and had paid $500 for my ticket to fly to Tasmania to his court case. And when I rang up, he said, please don't come. So I literally had to stay exactly that. It was so difficult for me to sit on that step. Where's my $500? Don't worry about him and think, okay, he can sort it out and sit there. So that I'm just kind of basically just went through that step.
And there is an urge to react, to be frustrated, irritated, so on.
That's right. Anxious, it was a really
And I'd like to
experience.
finish on a comment that I shared with Greg recently. Between stimulus, between impulse and response. Between impulse and response, there is a space. And in that space, there is a choice. And in that choice is our growth and freedom. And that was Viktor Frankl in a prisoner of war camp.
Well, and so I think this is really important, that where is this point, how do we get into it, and how can you most adequately describe it so that it's possible to go there when that emotional response starts to take place.
Well, the first part of the answer is, happily we get triggered 100 times a day.
It doesn't matter if we miss the first 20 or so,
Right.
as long as we get one soon. I've been triggered.
Yeah.
He said he shouldn't have said what he said. So we can feel, we know that we've been triggered. Can we stay with the fact that we've been triggered without reacting? So it's happening all the time, 24/7.
What if the reaction is a state of confusion, which it is for many people, that then they can't think clearly under that, in those situations?
No, none of us can.
React and so on.
None of us can think clearly under that situation.
Right. So where do they go at that point? They say nothing, they don't try to respond to it.
They just have to feel what's happening in the body.
They feel what's happening
In the body.
in the body. Okay.
It's not about that person out there.
Right.
What's happening in my body? My jaw is clenched. My wrist is tight. There's anxiety kind of going. All sorts of.
So even look for the.
Yeah, exactly. Look for what's happening. That's all we have to do.
I'm looking forward to trying.
The psyche will take care of the rest. We start to move up the levels of help. Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope I've interested you in the Eneagram.
Right. So, do you mind if I sit there for a moment?
I'd love you to agree.
Right there. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. And even though the numbers were down today, Robert, it was a bit of confusion about we have it normally on another day of the month, so that's cool. The fact is we got your attention as a smaller group, which was great. Thank you so much. The clarity of it all is amazing. Now, we're not going to do any music, and the Tao is not going to get a look at today.
He's doing a wing.
Steve, should we for 2 minutes do that exercise that we referred to at the start, or are we kind of exhausted? Some other days. We'll do that exercise some other day of what the challenges ahead are for you, or how you're reading the storm. Maybe we'll do that in July. What we're going to do now is to have there's going to be a cup of tea if you wish. There's a bowl out the front for Dana, even though when you read the ad it says X dollars and Y dollars. The reality is it's really a Dana event, this one here. You pay what you can. It's the Buddhist concept, and Steve and I are both fond of that concept. So if you can't pay what the ticket price was in the bowl out the front, pay what you can. Steve, thank you again for having the place looking so good, and thank you to Tekla for doing the class. And Harry on.
Can we take photos? Yeah.
Oh, Steve is going to take photos, and we'll post them on the Facebook site.
And if you want to take photographs as well, you can.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
okay.
We'll put them on the
Thank
floor.
you.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
The dog was like a big